Jambo mambo familia angu, habari gani marafiki? Mimi ni Eli-Ben-Eli. Karibu. I was watching the videos, of course, and I saw something that fascinated me. I have gotten to the point where I don't necessarily watch a lot of videos about Nyabohanship because they're all getting rather repetitive. But I did watch one in which Marwa chose to engage in what I would consider to be like a confrontation with Strongman 254, questioning him about why he was having such a long face. A long time, not a very long time ago, but I predicted something. I remember when I saw the old plumber who was there before Mr. Strongman 254 digging the septic holes. By the way, this is as good a point as any to stop and say this. My dear Rafiki, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please like and subscribe. Asante Asana for doing that. My channel is growing, but occasionally the growth slows down a little, or sometimes it just stops. And I come back to you and I ask you, please continue to like and subscribe. I need all of you who are watching the videos to, number one, like, and number two, if you haven't subscribed, please remember it costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe. And just take a few seconds and hit the subscribe button. It'll be doing your Babu Eli-Ben-Eli or Babu Eli a very big favor. But going back to what I was saying, what point did I leave you off at? I noticed something as they were digging the dual chambers that were supposed to be the septic system. First of all, the old plumber said something that on his face struck me as being ridiculous. He said that he was filling one chamber with absorbent rocks. Marwa fell for that, absorbent rocks. But even as he was doing it, the holes that he was digging kept filling up with water, and they would empty it out, the holes would fill up again. Now, if the rocks that he's filling it up with are absorbent, and the holes keep filling up with water, what's going to happen? The rocks are going to absorb the water. There was supposed to be one chamber that was going to be the first chamber, and when it overfilled, it would flow into this absorbent section. The whole thing was a flop. I said it at the time. Number one, nature has a rule that goes like this. Two solids cannot occupy the same space. Okay, it violates the laws of nature. It's kind of like the law of gravity. Two solids cannot occupy the same space. So if the chamber is filled with absorbent rocks that are already just full of water, how can it absorb anything else? I predicted that the so-called septic system was not going to work at all. It was going to be full with groundwater. And if it's full of groundwater, that means that, assuming that you have enough, this is sad, assuming that you have enough water to flush the toilets, number one. Number two, that the toilets are connected properly and can flush. Assuming that you have all of that, what's going to happen when the toilet flushes is that the feces are going to go nowhere. The toilets are going to be constantly clogged up. And if even a small amount of stuff goes down into the septic system, eventually it'll start coming back up. What's going to happen is that you have a totally inoperative toilet system. What does that mean? That means that at some point or the other, either number one, that area is gonna start smelling terribly. The toilets are gonna start smelling terribly. The toilets are not gonna be working. And as beautiful as that house is, nobody can cope with the stink of feces on a regular basis. Either the property will end up being unusable, or they'll have to redig that septic system and put in one that works. My theory is that with groundwater with the water table so high up, meaning that the groundwater is very, very, is just everywhere. They're not going to be able to put in a septic system unless they dig it and invest a lot of money into lining it with cement, which I don't think is going to happen. So the alternative, which is something that I would suggest if I was in a position to suggest anything to these people, is to dig to create a system where the waste is burned. Okay, either that or a system which a lot of campers in America do, and that is have what's called a composting toilet, a toilet in which the solids and the liquids are separated. The liquids are discarded on the ground. The solids are allowed to gather in buckets of 5 gallon. When they fill, you take them out. You combine them with every time that they're used. You put in a certain amount of dirt, and once the bucket is full, you just set it aside and let it sit there for several months, and it composts and it turns into dirt, and they empty it out. That could work, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. So in effect, that property is going to be rendered useless very, very soon. And by the way that it looks, none of this is going to happen within 2 weeks. It would take an awful lot of work for them to redo this in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen. My theory is that house is going to be pretty much useless. The only other solution would be if Marwa invested in having porta potties brought in, and I don't see Marwa investing that kind of money. There's no one he's going to be able to beg and have him bring him porta potties, so that's not going to happen. I saw one of the nights of dancing and everything that they have at the Medillin Villa, and everybody who's engaging in the dancing is a hungry YouTuber who works there during the day as a slave laborer, and at night they go out and they dance, and the numbers are dwindling. The numbers are getting smaller and smaller. People, it's like when the devil deceives you, if you're under a spell. Okay, if you aren't destroyed before you come out of the spell, there comes a moment of clarity when you realize that what you're doing is a lot of foolishness, and that what the devil is telling you is a lot of rubbish. Am I saying that Marwa is the devil? What kind of man leads wives to abandon their husbands in the search of fame? What kind of man leads men to behave like if they are doing something with other men? What kind of man turns the land to harlotry, turns the land to prostitution by bringing in outsiders, by bringing in passport bros and sex tourists who try to exploit the locals? The only thing that has been a blessing is that there haven't been that many foreign visitors. My dear friends, this is a village party. All of that nonsense about, The helipad is going to be in heavy use. They're going to have to. There was one woman, I believe it was no, it was a man. There was one man who claimed that he was an expert in running helipads. They were going to have a tower for the helipad operator, and he would be saying, vehicle or helicopter number 3 or 4, please proceed to land. And there would be helicopters hovering in the air of the Thrilla in the Kenyan Medillin, the imperial headquarters of he who walks upon the seas, he who causes the trees to grow, he who walks among the trees, he who walks among the corn and changes dirt into cities. It ain't happening, Nobody. See, this is how I break it down. Number one, this is the Christmas holiday season. In a few weeks, it's going to be Christmas. Let me explain something to you about America. Christians at this time of the year are very, very busy spending money, making preparations for feasting and partying, and right after Christmas, a week later, comes New Year's. This is a feasting season in America. It's a gift-giving season. It's a season of celebration. It's a period of a season of gathering with friends and relatives. If you think that the average American, with or without money, is going to find a way of traveling to the grand village, the kingdom of Nyabohan, to bow down and kiss Marwa's ass, yeah, some of them might do it. The ones that don't have any relatives or friends, and yeah, they might do it. But the rest of this country, the rest of the people who might have even gone to the party had it been scheduled at any time of the year, they're going to look at Marwa and say, nah, son, I don't think so. They're going to stay home. Canada, same way. Europeans, the same way. So, structurally, because of the scheduling conflict, this party was destined not to really be much of a success. There is a story that I think is very, very instructive. There was a group in the 1960s by the name of the Beatles. And they made a very, very, very big mistake. There was a point in time in which they were so successful, so big, that in an interview, the leader of the group, who was not the leader, probably the bigger star out of the group, his name was John Lennon, in an interview, said, "We are bigger than Jesus Christ." And that was the end of that group. People started burning their records, throwing away their records. People didn't want to go to their concerts anymore. Pretty much it was the end of the group, okay? And eventually, John Lennon ended up being assassinated, tragically enough. May he rest in peace. What's the point that I'm making? You can be a very big person. You can be a very big star in your own mind, as opposed to in reality. But if you take it upon yourself to compete with people's religions, you will be humiliated. Marwa, in effect, was pulling a John Lennon. Marwa was acting like if somehow he was going to be bigger than Christmas by staging this party in the middle of Thanksgiving season and Christmas season. I call it the holiday season. These are the two most celebrated holidays in the United States. It's like in the United States, and for that matter in Canada, because now that I think about it, it was even worse. Canada, they celebrate their Thanksgiving in October. So for the month of October, a lot of people wouldn't have even have been making plans to go to the party. They would be celebrating their Christmas in Canada. And I don't know anything about what they do in Australia and those other big English-speaking countries. The point is that all of those countries also celebrate Christmas. It's like scheduling-wise, it was a very, very stupid thing to schedule this party for the holiday seasons, which is what Marwa did. It was destined to fail. Anyway, there are two other things that I want to talk about. One of them is Diana Kemi. Congratulations to her. She just reached a milepost. She's at 10,000 subscribers, and she threw a party, and it was so sweet. There were a lot of her family members were there, and some of her neighbors, and they prayed, and they ate some cake, and drank some soda, and ate some candies and cookies. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Her house now has windows. The walls inside and outside have been plastered. It looks like a beautiful cottage. Congratulations to Diana Kemi. By the way, unlike the Villa Medillin, the Mediterranean villa, the villa of the most exalted King of Kings, when it rains, water does not leak in. Okay, and the toilet that they dug is very, very deep. The toilet will not be backing up and making the house to stink. Congratulations, to Diana Kemi. Diana Kemi had a small sense of self. Doesn't have a big ego. They asked her why did she build. A friend of hers who came to her house was asking why she chose to build Earth house. And she was saying, well, I looked in my wallet, it was what I was able to do. Total humility, total sanity, all of these other, and by the way, let me say this about Diana Kemi. Diana Kemi has a good relationship with the Marwa YouTube cult members, but in a sense, she's not really a part of it. She's her own person. She'll celebrate she'll be there when, big days happen and everything, and she'll stand around and watch and film, but at the end of the day, Diana Kemi is her own person. And Diana Kemi does not count on collabos or shout-outs from Marwa in order for her channel to be growing. Diana Kemi is doing something which a lot of those other YouTubers are not doing. She actually makes content, and her content isn't just consisting of loafing and being a lazy person at the Marwa compound, taking opportunities to film Marwa. No, she makes videos about building her house, traveling, crafts, and the result is that her channel is prospering. And it continues to prosper. Fellow the Boy has reached a milepost. He's now at 6,000 followers. And there was something which, if you're following what he's doing, was really, really important. There is a woman by the name of Mama Maria who has children, like 4 children. And Fellow was trying really, really hard to complete her house enough to where she would be able to move in before December. He has succeeded in doing that, and she is in. The house has windows, floor. They just installed a ceiling. It still needs to be painted and everything, but the house is a place where these people live now, which is a big improvement because they were living in an earth house that had a roof that leaked and everything. Now they're living in a warm, nice, dry house. Congratulations, Fellow the Boy. Congratulations, Diana Kemi. And folks, I haven't asked this far, but please, if you haven't liked and subscribed by this point, go back and help your bald-headed grandpa by liking and subscribing, to my channel. I wanted to conclude by discussing something which, two things which I don't really do, but I'm gonna do it. And I hope nobody minds. I'm gonna take a few minutes to discuss this. Here in the United States, there was a gentleman from New York City who ran for Congress, and he lied about everything. He just lied and lied. It tells you something that even in the game of politics, Congressman George Santos went too far. He told so many lies about everything. Stole lies and stole money, and finally, well, guess what happened? He ended up being elected to Congress. And what was the result? People started discovering how many of the things that he had said about himself was a lie. He had no college degree. He hadn't been a volleyball star. He was not a rich, successful investor. It was all lies. But he was a supporter of President Trump. And the people who elected Trump liked him because he claimed to be a conservative. Well, he got into Congress, and the calls began. People wanted him thrown out of the Congress. And finally, the Congress has been in complete and total chaos. Finally, they got around to voting him out and kicking him out of that Congress. And when they kicked him out, he said something that was fascinating. The last thing that he said as he walked out was, "To hell with this place." Like if he had been doing them a big favor by being there under false pretexts. All politicians are liars, but even among politicians, this man went too far. And his last words was, "The hell with this place." And he walked out like, oh my God, that is so funny. I'm going to occasionally mention things that are going on politically in this country. One of the craziest things that's going on is, and I have to mention this, I'll be very quick about it because I'm going to talk more about it in the future. There is a place called the South Bronx. It's part of New York City. It is the poorest congressional district in the United States, and there is a gentleman there by the name of Richie Torres, Congressman Richie Torres, who grew up very, very poor in government housing, and he's been elected to Congress, and now all that he does in Congress is talk against Hamas, and really what he's doing is talking against the Palestinian people and defending what is being done in the Gaza Strip. And something tells me that what happened to George Santos is going to happen to Richie Torres. Anyway, my dear friends, Shavua Tov. I hope each and every one of you has a wonderful week. Happy holidays. To my Muslim brothers and sisters, Salam Alaikum. And to those who have said Alaikum Salam unto you. Asante Asana for having taken this time to watch my video. May Allah bless each and every one of you. May Hashem bless each and every one of you and allow you to have a Shavua Tov. Thank you very much. Your grandfather Eli will see you again.